When you think of procurement, what comes to mind? For most people, it's the department that, well, it just buys stuff, right? Pens, paper, computers. But what if I told you that same department could be the key to a company's entire competitive advantage? Today, we're going to explain the massive shift from simple purchasing to what we call strategic sourcing.
For decades, this was the question that drove purchasing departments. And, on the surface, it makes perfect sense, right? Why pay more when you can pay less? But as we're about to see, chasing that low price tag without understanding the true cost, well, it can lead to absolute disaster.
And if you want a perfect, almost scary example of this in action, we just have to look at the collapse of the UK construction giant Carillion. Their entire strategy was built around one thing: win contracts by bidding as low as humanly possible. This dragged them into what was called a vicious downward spiral, where they were taking on jobs that were actually losing them money. The end result? A total catastrophic collapse with a staggering £7 billion in liabilities.
So yeah, the Carillion story it's a huge wake-up call, right? It perfectly illustrates how that old-school, price-obsessed mindset can be the single most expensive mistake a company can ever make. It shows it's time for a fundamental change in how we think about this stuff. And this right here really breaks down that shift in thinking. On one side, you've got the old way, purchasing. It's basically a zero-sum game. The goal is to squeeze your supplier on price, it's transactional, it's adversarial. But on the other side, you've got strategic sourcing. And here, the whole goal is different. It's not just about saving a few bucks today. It's about building partnerships to create real long-term value for everyone involved.
So what does strategic sourcing actually mean? Well, at its core, it's about making sure your supply chain is actively helping the business win. Think about it. If your company's main goal is to be the most innovative leader in your field, then your sourcing strategy better be focused on finding suppliers who can bring you cutting-edge tech and brand new ideas. It's all about alignment, not just cost.
And this quote from logistics expert Christopher Martin it just nails it. The job of modern procurement isn't just to buy a part. It's to find suppliers who make a real, tangible contribution to what your final customer actually gets. They add value. Okay, so we get the philosophy, right? But how do you actually do it? How do you put it into practice? Well, it all starts by admitting a very simple but incredibly powerful truth about your suppliers.
It's this simple. Not all of your suppliers are created equal. The company that sells you paperclips and pens, they require a very different kind of management than, say, the one that provides the mission-critical processor for your flagship smartphone. The very first step towards a strategic approach is to truly understand and act on this difference.
And this is the classic tool that helps us do exactly that. It's called the Kraljic Matrix. It looks fancy, but it's a really simple grid that helps you map out everything you buy based on two key things. On one axis, you've got financial impact. Basically, how much money are we spending on this? And on the other, you've got supply risk. How hard would it be to find a new supplier if this one disappeared tomorrow? Once you plot everything on the matrix, it gives you 4 totally different strategies. For leverage items, stuff you spend a lot on but there are tons of suppliers, you can use your buying power to get a great deal. For non-critical things, like those paperclips, just automate the process. Don't waste time on it. For bottleneck items, where it's not expensive but a shortage would shut you down, your entire focus is just securing that supply. And for the strategic items, the high-cost, high-risk stuff, those are your partners. You collaborate with them, you innovate with them, and you grow with them. So once you've segmented your suppliers using a tool like the Kraljic Matrix, you can start focusing your energy where it's actually going to make a difference. But how do you manage all these different groups in a really structured way? Well, the answer is a process called category management. This is how you take that high-level strategy from the matrix and turn it into real, day-to-day action. See, category management gives you a playbook. Instead of looking at individual purchases, you bundle similar things into logical groups, like, say, all IT spending. Then, and this part is absolutely crucial, you create a mini business plan just for that category. You pull in experts from IT and finance, not just procurement, to analyze the market and build a strategy that actually helps the whole company. This kind of structured approach is incredibly powerful, but we all know how it is. In the 21st century, having a great strategy isn't enough if it can't adapt. The world changes fast. From pandemics to geopolitical conflicts, supply chains are constantly getting hit from all sides. A rigid 5-year plan for your suppliers is pretty much a recipe for failure these days. Modern strategic sourcing needs one more key ingredient: agility.
So, what does an agile procurement team actually do differently? Well, for one, they don't lock themselves into these super rigid long-term contracts. They build flexibility and options right into their agreements. They are absolutely obsessed with shortening the time it takes to get things. And most importantly, they are always looking around the corner, trying to sense and anticipate the next global shock that could mess up their supply chain. It's all about being proactive, not reactive. So when you combine a strategic framework like the Kraljic Matrix with a structured process like category management, and then you layer on that agile mindset, you end up creating something incredibly powerful. You get a supply chain that isn't just efficient, but is also resilient and a genuine source of competitive advantage. And that's what it all boils down to. This is the question to ask. Are you just buying stuff at the lowest price, treating your supply chain like it's just a necessary cost you have to deal with? Or are you building partnerships, creating value, and turning it into a competitive weapon? Because the answer to that question could very well define the future of your entire business.